Hey guys, whoops. Happy Friday. Okay, let's get started. This over here like this. Alright, here we go. Okay, we're going to do some weirdness here. I'm throwing in here, I'm making some changes. Normally, in a normal year, I would be doing what I'm about to do today and then include it with the section about special right triangles. I don't know if I'm going to do the special right triangles with y'all. I think I'm going to stick with what I'm doing today, which is the Pythagorean theorem, and it's from chapter 11. I think I'm going to stick with this, and we're going to forego Pythagorean theorem. And I think we're going to forego the rest of chapter 12, only because teaching you from a distance, I have to be kind of selective on what I can do. The Pythagorean theorem is not impossible. The section in chapter 12 about special right triangles, it's not impossible either, but it's going to require a little more hands-on and one-on-one than I think your parents are going to want to deal with. And if you have parents that aren't helping or at work or something like that, or they're like, I'm not touching this stuff, then it could be tough. It could be tough. I'd be hearing from students all day long. So with that said, I think I'm going to just forego that section. It is what it is in this special time that we're in. Pythagorean theorem, though, this will be included on your test, okay? So, I wouldn't worry too much about that, but this will be included on your test, okay? So, just because we dip back down in chapter 11 doesn't mean anything. Your test is still scheduled for Wednesday, okay? Wednesday. And so you'll be starting the review Monday, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's get started. Hypotenuse. What is a hypotenuse? This is the Pythagorean theorem. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle. Therefore, it is also opposite the 90-degree angle. It looks like this. So there's your poorly drawn right triangle. The hypotenuse is this side right here. It's the longest side of the right triangle. Okay, that's the hypotenuse. We can use a formula to find the unknown length of a side in a right triangle. Okay? Hence the word right triangle. This does not work for just any triangle. It only works for a right triangle. Okay? And that's defined, this formula, the Pythagorean theorem, it's to be able to find any measurement of any side of a right triangle. That's what it is. And the formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay? This is the formula for the Pythagorean theorem. Okay? All right. So again, this right here can be used to find the measurement of any missing or unknown length of a side in any right triangle. Okay. Where A and B are legs, that's what they're called, legs, and C is the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. Here's your right triangle. I have A, B, those are the legs, and here's C. This is my hypotenuse. I like saying hypotenuse. There's a leg, and there's a leg. Legs, those are legs. Oh, these are arms, those are legs. Okay, typically, A is the shortest side. Now, I say typically because not always. Not always. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if which is which because they are treated the same. Okay, but typically A is the shortest leg or shortest side. Okay, so what we are going to be dealing with are square roots. Okay, crash course on square roots. Square root of 4, does anyone remember? It's 2. Because it's 2 times 2. So the square root of 4 is, they're asking what number times itself will give you 4. Well, 2. 2 times 2. And it's written like this, 2 squared. 2 squared. So the square root of 4 is 2. What is the square root of 16? 4. And 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. Another way of doing that is 4 squared. What's the square root of 25? 5. Because 5 times 5 is 25. Or you can even say 5 squared. Because 5 squared is the same as 5 times 5. How about 121? That'd be 11. Because 11 times 11 is 21. You can also write it like that. What about the square root of 9? It's 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. What about 100? 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. What about 36? What would that be? Square root of 36, I'm sorry. That'd be 6, because 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, so those of you that may have forgotten about square roots, now hopefully you remember. Okay. So example. Given 2 legs of 8 and 15, find the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. Okay, so this is all you've been given. My suggestion, draw a picture. Given 2 legs of 8 and 15, find the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. I like saying hypotenuse. Okay, so draw a triangle. Right triangle. We have A, B, and C as your hypotenuse. You are given 2 legs, 8 and 15. Well, these are your legs. 8 is the smallest number, so we're talking about right here. 15 would go right here. And it says find the hypotenuse. This is hypotenuse. We don't know what it is. But they said given two legs, and these are the only legs of 8, it's small, so it's going to be the smallest leg. But again, it doesn't matter. And 15, find the hypotenuse. So the formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Fill in the blanks. Or substitute, there's no blanks. So a is 8, so 8 squared plus b squared, which is 15 squared, equals c squared. So we know what it is. Okay, what is 8 squared? 8 times 8. And yes, you may use your calculators. 15 times 2. See, that's what y'all gonna do too. 15 squared, 225, equals c squared. Don't forget that is 15 times 15. And 8 times 8. It's not 8 times 2 like I accidentally flipped and said. Okay, that's not what it's saying. It's saying times itself 2 times. Don't mess that up. We add and we get 289 equals c squared. Now, big rule is we got to take this out of square, because you notice this is not square, this is just c by itself. Just like this is a by itself and b by itself. But we had to square all those things. So to take it out of the square, the next step is to do this, to square everything. You have, hopefully, your calculators. Allie has taken my calculator and she's using it nonstop because of her pre-calc class. So I don't have it. They have a square root button on your calculator. You can use that. Okay, I don't care. But the square root of 289 is 17. It's a perfect square. The square root of c squared is c. And there's your answer. So this is a perfect square. Just like these down here. Those are perfect squares. So 17 times 17 gives you that. Okay? If the answer is not a perfect square, leave it as, a radical, or write the decimal answer. Okay, some of you may be in the same boat as I am right now. I don't have a calculator to do this with. I think there's probably a way to do square roots on your phone, some of your smartphones. My phone is smarter than your teacher. I don't know where that would be on my phone. So, and that is what you're dealing with, then you can leave it as a radical. For example, let's say c squared equals 47. Okay, we got to take it out of that square. This is not a perfect square. There is nothing that times itself will give you 47. There's nothing. So then your answer, because you can take this out of square, is just going to be this. You can leave it with the radical, because this is not a perfect square. Okay? There's nothing times itself that's going to give you 47. Now, if you have one of the graphing calculators and you got batteries and it works, and you can figure this out on your own, you can write the decimal version of it. I would round to the nearest 10th or 100th place unless your directions tell you otherwise. Okay? All right. You may also find the length of a leg given one leg and the hypotenuse. Okay? So for example, let's say they give you the hypotenuse is 16 and one leg is 7. Okay? Simple. Write down your formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Fill in the blanks. One leg is 7. Right? Okay. So then I don't know which leg it is. It doesn't matter. We'll just put it for A. And this is left blank because we don't know what it is, but the hypotenuse is 16 squared. See, the hypotenuse is 16, so I'm putting it in place of the C. Remember, C is the hypotenuse. So for example, I can draw my picture, and I would suggest y'all do it. It helps. A, B, and C. C is always the hypotenuse. They said 16 is the hypotenuse. It's C. One leg is 7. We can say it's here. You can say it's B. Doesn't matter. All right, so 7 squared is 49, because 7 times 7 is 49. Plus B squared equals 16 times 16, 16 squared, is 256. Okay, now we have to do intruder alert. So we can isolate the variable. We got to move that 49 over there. So I'm going to subtract 49 on both sides. And I'm left with B squared equals 207. Okay, it's time to take that out. So I'm going to square both sides. Square root of B squared is just B. There is no perfect square for this. If you did this on your calculator, it would come up with a decimal because this is not a perfect square. So you can just leave it like that. Because this is not a perfect square. Now, IXL and everything may require you to do the decimal version. And if you have a calculator and it works like that, which all of you are supposed to have one. I am too, but my daughter took it from me. So, all of you have it. If you do not know how to do the square root on your calculator, contact me and I'll show you. I'll have you just take a screenshot, a picture of the face of your calculator, and I'll circle it and talk you through it, okay? All right, let's do some examples from your book. I've got 4. So examples, page 467. All right, let's jump right in. Number 1. Oops. It says, given the lengths of the legs, find the hypotenuse. It says round answers to the nearest tenth. So that's if it's not a perfect square. You can either leave it as a radical, or you can use your calculator and do the decimal form. So I'm going to draw my picture. Because number 1 says, they give you the legs of 12, and since 12 is smaller than 16, I'm putting that as A, and 16, and they want you to find the hypotenuse. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. All right, plug it in. 12 squared plus 16 squared equals C squared. 12 squared is 144. 12 times 12, remember. 12 times 12. 16 squared is 256. That's 16 times 16. Add these two together, you get 400. Now we have to take this out of the square, so we're going to square root both sides. Now, if you have a calculator, you can figure this out, but this is a perfect square. 20. The square root of 400 is 20. And the square root of c squared is just c. So there's your answer. This is a perfect square. 20 times 20 gives you 400. So the hypotenuse is 20. All right, 3. They also gave you some legs. All right, A, B, and C. They said that one leg is 4, and since it's smallest, I'm putting it for A, and the other leg is 5. And we do not know the hypotenuse. Okay, so the formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Just plug in your information. 4 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 4 squared is 16, 4 times 4. 5 squared is 25, 5 times 5 equals c squared. Add these two together, you get 41 equals c squared. We have to take this out of the square. So we're going to square root both. This is not a perfect square, so you can just keep it or do the decimal version. And the decimal version would be 6.4 equals c. So either one. I don't care. All right? This is not perfect square. Okay? So you see there's it's just routine. It's just routine. You're going to do the same thing for each one. And you're able to use your calculator, so this shouldn't go, take you too long. All right, let's do another. I got 2 more to do, and then I'm setting you free. So number 9. This time the directions say, given the hypotenuse in one leg, find the measurement of the other leg. So I'm drawing my picture, A, B, and C. This time for number 9, they give us the height, I put 30. 30 is the largest of the two. So I put it as the hypotenuse, because it's the largest. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, did they give us the A? No. B is 24 squared. Hypotenuse is 30 squared. 24 squared is 576. 30 squared is 900. Okay, now we do isolating the variable. We need to get A all by itself and true to alert. So since we're adding 576, I'm going to subtract 576 to get it over here with the 900. And I'm left with A squared equals 324. I have to take this out of, the square, so I'm going to square root it. Square root of A squared is just A. And believe it or not, this is a perfect square. 18. 18 times 18 gives you 324. So this leg right here is 18. So you need to be careful. Read your directions so you know where to place them. You see what I'm saying? If you didn't read the directions and you thought this was a leg, your answer would be wrong, because you would have it on this side of the equal sign, and trust me, it makes a difference. So you better make sure that you are reading the directions. All right, 11, last one. It's another one where they give you the hypotenuse and one of the legs. They said the hypotenuse is going to be 10. Well, that's the larger number, so clearly that's the hypotenuse. And another leg is 8. I'm just going to put that as B. You can put it as A if you want. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. See, y'all know the formula now, right? And we just plug in the information. We don't have anything for A. B. Oh, I don't know what that was. B is 8 squared. C is 10 squared. 8 squared is 64. 10 squared is 100. Have to isolate the variable. Get everything on one side. I'm left with A squared equals 36. Okay, we have to take it out of the perfect square. Take it out of the square root. So we have to square both sides. The square root of 8 squared is I'm really having trouble here. Square root of 36, it's a perfect square. It is just 6 because 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, I'm setting you free. I did 2 from each section that you're going to be doing. I think you got it by now. You're going to be doing page 467, numbers 2 through 16 even. Okay, that's it. That's like 8 problems. It's due Monday. You have a test on Wednesday. And IXL, you will be hearing from me on that on Google Classroom. Okay, so don't worry. I'm also going to be posting on Pro page. I know y'all are like, well, we're not complaining. All the links are there in my Proto page. Even if I don't assign them, you should be doing them to practice and getting ready for the test. Okay? But I know y'all won't. That's why I assign it. Anyway, if I get around to assigning it, I'll let you know. Okay, take care. Have a fabulous weekend, guys. Bye-bye.